Digital addiction. How technology is rewiring your brain. Understanding the meaning of digital addiction. Before we begin this journey, it is important to understand exactly what digital addiction means. Digital addiction is not simply spending a lot of time on your phone, computer, or tablet. It goes much deeper than that. Digital addiction occurs when the brain becomes dependent on digital stimulation, such as social media notifications, endless scrolling, gaming rewards, or constant streams of information. These technologies are not random. They are carefully engineered systems designed to capture and hold your attention. Every like, notification, message, and recommendation triggers a chemical reaction in the brain, the release of dopamine. Dopamine is the brain's motivation and reward chemical. It is what drives curiosity, anticipation, and pleasure. But when dopamine is constantly triggered by digital devices, the brain begins to adapt. Over time, it starts craving these digital rewards more frequently and more intensely. As a result, many people find themselves checking their phones dozens, sometimes hundreds, of times a day. They scroll without purpose. They open apps without even realizing why. And when the stimulation stops, they feel restless, bored, or anxious. This is not simply a lack of discipline. It is a neurological loop. A loop created by powerful technologies competing for one of the most valuable resources in the modern world: your attention. Digital addiction slowly reshapes how we think, how we focus, how we work, and even how we experience happiness. It fragments our attention. It shortens our patience. It weakens our ability to concentrate deeply. And perhaps most importantly, it changes the way our brains respond to the world. But there is good news. Once you understand how this system works, you can learn how to break free from it. And that is exactly what this audiobook will help you do. Introduction. The invisible battle for your attention. Take a moment and think about the last time you picked up your phone. Did you do it intentionally? Or did it happen automatically? For many people, checking their phone has become almost reflexive, something they do without conscious thought. A notification appears. A message arrives. A small red icon lights up on the screen. And instantly, the brain feels a pull to respond. What most people don't realize is that behind these tiny digital signals lies a vast industry built on one simple goal: capturing and keeping your attention. In the early days of technology, devices were tools. Computers helped us calculate. Phones helped us communicate. The internet helped us access information. But today, technology has evolved into something very different. Modern platforms are not simply tools, they are attention ecosystems. Teams of engineers, psychologists, and behavioral scientists work together to design systems that keep users engaged for as long as possible. Why? Because attention is now the most valuable currency in the digital economy. The longer you stay on a platform, the more advertisements you see. The more data is collected. And the more profitable your attention becomes. This has created a powerful cycle. Platforms compete to make their systems more stimulating, more addictive, more difficult to leave. Notifications are carefully timed. Content is endlessly recommended. And feeds are designed to never truly end. As a result, millions of people spend hours every day inside digital environments designed to keep them there. Over time, this constant stimulation begins to reshape the brain. Focus becomes harder. Silence feels uncomfortable. And the mind becomes accustomed to a constant stream of novelty and reward. But awareness is the first step toward freedom. When you understand how digital systems influence your brain, you gain the ability to reclaim control. This audiobook will guide you through the psychology, neuroscience, and behavioral patterns behind digital addiction. You will learn how modern technology interacts with your brain's reward system. You will understand why certain digital behaviors feel so difficult to stop. And most importantly, you will discover practical ways to rebuild focus, discipline, and mental clarity. Because technology should serve your life, not control it. In the chapters ahead, we will explore how the digital world evolved, how it influences your brain, and how you can build a healthier relationship with the technology that surrounds you. But first, we must understand how this entire transformation began. You are now entering Chapter 1, the smartphone era. In this chapter, we will explore how the rise of smartphones fundamentally changed human behavior and transformed the way we interact with the digital world. Let's begin. Chapter 1: The Smartphone Era. There was a time, not very long ago, when the internet lived inside a computer. If you wanted to check your email, browse a website, or search for information, you had to sit down at a desk, turn on a machine, and deliberately connect to the digital world. The internet was something you visited. But everything changed when the smartphone arrived. Suddenly, the internet was no longer a place you visited. It became something you carried in your pocket. This transformation quietly altered human behavior on a massive scale. Today, billions of people wake up each morning and reach for their phones before they even leave their beds. Notifications appear before the mind is fully awake. Messages, emails, headlines, videos, and social media feeds begin competing for attention within seconds of opening our eyes. What once required effort and intention now happens automatically. And this is the beginning of the smartphone era. The device that changed everything. Smartphones are remarkable tools. They allow us to communicate instantly across continents. They give us access to nearly all of human knowledge. They help us navigate cities, capture memories, and manage our daily lives. But like all powerful tools, smartphones come with unintended consequences. When the smartphone was first introduced, it was celebrated as a symbol of convenience and progress. Few people imagined how deeply it would reshape everyday behavior. Because the smartphone did not simply bring technology closer. It brought constant stimulation. Every app became a potential source of reward. Every notification became a small interruption. Every vibration became a signal demanding attention. Over time, these small interruptions began to accumulate. And the brain started adapting to this new digital environment. The rise of constant connectivity. Before smartphones, moments of boredom were common. You waited in line without entertainment. You sat quietly on buses or trains. You stood in elevators with nothing to look at. These moments may have seemed unimportant, but they served a critical role in mental health. They allowed the brain to rest. They gave the mind time to wander, reflect, and process information. But the smartphone quietly eliminated these gaps. Now, whenever boredom appears, a device is ready to fill the space. Waiting in line. Check your phone. Riding the train. Scroll through social media. Standing in silence. Watch a short video. Over time, the brain begins to lose its tolerance for stillness. Moments without stimulation begin to feel uncomfortable. And so the phone becomes a constant companion, not just for communication, but for escape from boredom. The habit loop begins. Psychologists often describe habits using a simple structure known as the habit loop. It consists of three components: a cue, a behavior, and a reward. Smartphones are incredibly effective at triggering this loop. The cue might be a notification sound. The behavior is checking the phone. And the reward might be a message, a like, an interesting post, or a funny video. Even if the reward is small, the brain still receives a burst of dopamine. And dopamine encourages repetition. Over time, this loop becomes automatic. You no longer check your phone because you consciously decided to. You check it because the habit has been deeply ingrained. Many people unlock their phones dozens of times a day without even realizing it. Some studies suggest the average person checks their phone over 80 times per day. For some individuals, that number is far higher. And this constant checking gradually fragments attention. The fragmentation of focus. The human brain is not designed for continuous interruptions. Focus requires time to build. When you begin working on a complex task, your brain slowly enters a deeper state of concentration. But every notification resets that process. Every glance at a phone pulls attention away from the task at hand. Even brief interruptions have consequences. Research shows that after a distraction, it can take several minutes for the brain to fully regain its previous level of focus. Now imagine this happening dozens of times each day. Emails, messages, news alerts, social media notifications. The brain is constantly switching between tasks, never staying in one place long enough to achieve deep concentration. Over time, this pattern trains the brain to expect interruption, and sustained focus becomes increasingly difficult. The illusion of productivity. One of the most surprising aspects of smartphone use is that it often feels productive. Checking emails feels like work. Responding to messages feels like progress. Scrolling through news feeds feels like staying informed. But these activities rarely produce meaningful outcomes. Instead, they create an illusion of productivity while quietly draining attention and mental energy. Hours disappear into fragmented digital interactions. And at the end of the day, many people feel mentally exhausted without having accomplished the tasks that truly matter. This is one of the subtle dangers of the smartphone era. It disguises distraction as activity. The always-on mind. Another consequence of constant connectivity is the disappearance of mental boundaries. In the past, work had clear limits. You left the office. You went home. And the workday ended. But smartphones blurred these boundaries. Now work emails arrive at night. Messages appear during weekends. Notifications interrupt family time and personal moments. The brain rarely receives a true break from digital input. And when the mind never fully disconnects, stress levels slowly rise. Many people begin to feel a subtle sense of pressure, the feeling that they must always remain reachable, always available, always responsive. This constant state of alertness keeps the brain in a low-level stress mode. And over time, this affects sleep, focus, and emotional well-being. A turning point. Despite these challenges, smartphones are not the enemy. They are powerful tools. The real issue is how they are designed and how we interact with them. Understanding the psychological mechanisms behind smartphone use is the first step toward regaining control. When you recognize how habits form, how attention is captured, and how dopamine reinforces behavior, you begin to see the system more clearly. And once you see it clearly, you can begin to reshape your relationship with technology. But to truly understand why digital devices feel so compelling, we must look deeper into the brain itself. Because behind every notification, every scroll, and every digital reward lies a powerful chemical driver. That driver is dopamine. Chapter 1 Summary. In this chapter, we explored how smartphones transformed the digital world from something we occasionally used into something that constantly surrounds us. We learned that smartphones introduced continuous connectivity, frequent interruptions, and new habit loops built around digital rewards. These devices reshaped how we interact with information, how we manage boredom, and how we focus our attention. Over time, repeated digital habits can fragment concentration and create a constant cycle of checking and stimulation. But to understand why these habits feel so difficult to break, we must examine the brain's reward system. Because the true engine behind digital addiction is not the phone itself. It is the chemical reaction happening inside the brain. You have just completed Chapter 1, the smartphone era. Next, we will explore the powerful brain chemical that drives digital behavior. In Chapter 2, the dopamine machine, you will discover how modern technology taps directly into the brain's reward system to keep users coming back again and again. Chapter 2, the dopamine machine. Why is it so difficult to put your phone down? Why do you sometimes reach for it without even thinking? Why does a simple notification feel so compelling? The answer lies deep within the brain, inside a powerful chemical system that governs motivation, curiosity, and reward. That system revolves around a neurotransmitter called dopamine. Dopamine is often described as the brain's pleasure chemical, but this description is slightly misleading. Dopamine does not simply create pleasure. Its true function is anticipation. Dopamine drives the feeling that something interesting, exciting, or rewarding might happen next. It motivates us to seek, to explore, to check, and to return. In other words, dopamine is the engine behind wanting. And modern digital technology has learned how to activate that engine with incredible precision. The brain's reward system. Deep inside the brain exists a network of structures known as the reward system. This system evolved to encourage behaviors essential for survival. When early humans found food, formed social bonds, or discovered something beneficial for survival, dopamine was released. This chemical signal reinforced those behaviors, teaching the brain to repeat them. Over thousands of years, this system helped humans learn what actions led to positive outcomes. But the digital world has discovered a way to artificially trigger this system. Social media notifications, video recommendations, likes, messages, comments. Each one acts like a small digital reward. Every time you receive one of these signals, the brain releases a tiny burst of dopamine. And that burst encourages you to repeat the behavior that triggered it. Check the phone. Open the app. Scroll the feed. Tap the notification. The brain begins associating these actions with reward. And slowly, a powerful habit loop forms. The power of unpredictable rewards. One of the most powerful drivers of dopamine is uncertainty. The brain becomes especially excited when rewards are unpredictable. Psychologists discovered this effect through experiments involving gambling machines. When people pull the lever on a slot machine, they do not know if they will win or lose. This uncertainty triggers strong dopamine responses. And it keeps players pulling the lever again and again. Modern digital platforms use a similar principle. When you refresh a social media feed, you do not know what you will see next. It might be boring. Or it might be something exciting. A funny video. A shocking headline. A message from a friend. A photo that grabs your attention. This uncertainty keeps the brain curious. And curiosity keeps the thumb scrolling. Each swipe becomes the digital equivalent of pulling the lever on a slot machine. Sometimes the reward is small. Sometimes it is exciting. But the possibility of reward keeps the brain engaged. The endless scroll. One of the most influential features ever introduced in digital platforms is something called infinite scrolling. Instead of reaching the end of a page, new content automatically appears. There is no stopping point. No clear boundary. The brain interprets this endless stream of information as an ongoing opportunity for reward. And because there is always something new just below the screen, the mind continues searching. Scrolling becomes almost hypnotic. Minutes pass. Then hours. And the brain keeps expecting the next interesting piece of content to appear. But the deeper issue is not the time spent scrolling. It is what this behavior does to the brain's reward system. Dopamine tolerance. The brain is remarkably adaptable. When it experiences frequent dopamine spikes, it begins to adjust. This adjustment is called dopamine tolerance. In simple terms, the brain becomes less sensitive to stimulation. Activities that once felt rewarding begin to feel less exciting. This creates a subtle problem. As dopamine tolerance increases, the brain starts craving more stimulation to achieve the same level of satisfaction. People begin checking their phones more frequently. Scrolling longer. Jumping between apps. Seeking stronger digital stimulation. Meanwhile, everyday activities that require patience or sustained effort start to feel less appealing. Reading a book. Studying. Working on a complex project. Having a quiet conversation. These slower activities cannot compete with the rapid dopamine burst delivered by digital platforms. And gradually, the brain begins favoring quick digital rewards over deeper, more meaningful experiences. The feedback loop. Once dopamine tolerance develops, a feedback loop begins to form. More stimulation leads to greater tolerance. Greater tolerance leads to stronger cravings. Stronger cravings lead to more digital consumption. This loop is subtle but powerful. Many people do not notice it forming. They simply feel the urge to check their phones more often. They feel restless when they are not connected. They feel drawn back into digital environments even when they know they should focus elsewhere. But this behavior is not a sign of weakness. It is the natural result of a brain responding to powerful reward signals. Digital platforms are not just competing for attention. They are competing for dopamine. And dopamine is one of the brain's strongest motivational forces. Many people do not notice it forming. They simply feel the urge to check their phones more often. They feel restless when they are not connected. They feel drawn back into digital environments even when they know they should focus elsewhere. But this behavior is not a sign of weakness. It is the natural result of a brain responding to powerful reward signals. Digital platforms are not just competing for attention. They are competing for dopamine. And dopamine is one of the brain's strongest motivational forces. This can gradually weaken the ability to sustain focus for long periods. It can also increase feelings of restlessness when stimulation is absent. Many people experience this when they attempt to disconnect from their devices. The silence feels uncomfortable. The mind begins searching for stimulation. This is the brain adjusting to lower dopamine levels. But the brain is also capable of recovery. And once we understand how the dopamine system works, we can begin retraining it. The key is learning how digital systems manipulate reward signals and how we can regain control of them. Chapter 2 Summary. In this chapter, we explored the powerful brain chemical that drives much of digital behavior, dopamine. We learned that dopamine fuels anticipation and motivation, encouraging the brain to seek rewards and repeat behaviors. Digital platforms take advantage of this system by delivering unpredictable rewards through notifications, likes, and endless content streams. Over time, repeated dopamine stimulation can lead to tolerance, increasing the brain's craving for digital input. This creates a feedback loop where people check their devices more frequently in search of stimulation. Understanding this mechanism is essential for breaking the cycle of digital addiction. Because once we recognize how dopamine influences our behavior, we can begin reshaping the habits that control our attention. You have just completed Chapter 2, The Dopamine Machine. Next, we will explore the economic forces driving the digital world. In Chapter 3, The Attention Economy, you will discover how companies compete for your focus and why your attention has become one of the most valuable resources in the modern world. Chapter 3, The Attention Economy. In the previous chapter, we explored how digital platforms activate the brain's dopamine system to encourage repeated behavior. But there is another force driving the design of modern technology. An economic force. To understand digital addiction fully, we must understand something called the attention economy. The attention economy is based on a simple principle. Human attention is a limited resource. Every day, billions of pieces of content compete for it. Videos, advertisements, articles, messages, social media posts, apps, news alerts, streaming platforms. All of them are competing for the same thing: your time and focus. And in today's digital world, attention has become one of the most valuable commodities in existence. Why attention is so valuable? Most digital platforms appear free. You can open a social media app, watch videos, read articles, or browse images without paying any money. But if you are not paying for the product, there is a good chance you are the product. Digital platforms make money primarily through advertising. Companies pay enormous amounts of money to place ads in front of users. The longer users remain on a platform, the more advertisements they see. And the more revenue the platform generates. This creates a powerful incentive. The goal is no longer simply to provide information or entertainment. The goal is to keep you engaged for as long as possible. Every extra minute of attention becomes profitable. And so the competition for attention becomes increasingly intense. The battle for your focus. Imagine hundreds of companies all trying to capture the same moment of your attention. Each platform wants you to open its app first. Each service wants you to stay longer than the others. This competition has led to the creation of incredibly sophisticated systems designed to capture and maintain user engagement. Notifications are carefully timed. Algorithms learn what content keeps you interested. Recommendations become increasingly personalized. The system observes your behavior and adjusts accordingly. If you pause on a video for a few seconds longer than usual, the algorithm learns. If you click on certain types of content more frequently, the system adapts. Over time, the platform begins predicting what will keep you engaged. The more you use it, the better it becomes at holding your attention. Algorithms that know you. Modern digital platforms rely heavily on algorithms. An algorithm is simply a set of instructions that determine what content appears on your screen. But today's algorithms are incredibly advanced. They analyze enormous amounts of data. What you watch, what you like, what you skip, what you comment on. how long you stay on a particular post, even how quickly you scroll. All of this information helps the algorithm build a detailed model of your preferences. Once it understands your behavior, it begins delivering content specifically designed to keep you engaged. Content that triggers curiosity. Content that sparks emotion. Content that makes it difficult to stop watching. The more accurate the algorithm becomes, the longer people stay on the platform. And the longer people stay, the more valuable their attention becomes. The emotional hook. Content that captures attention is rarely neutral. Instead, it tends to trigger strong emotions. Surprise. Excitement. Outrage. Curiosity. Fear. These emotional responses activate the brain's reward system and make content more memorable. This is why certain types of posts spread rapidly across digital platforms. They provoke immediate reactions. And reactions lead to engagement. Engagement leads to more visibility. And more visibility leads to even greater engagement. The system feeds itself. Over time, this dynamic encourages content creators and platforms to prioritize material that generates emotional responses. Because emotional content keeps people watching. And watching keeps the platform profitable. The cost of continuous engagement. While the attention economy creates powerful digital experiences, it also produces hidden costs. Constant competition for attention fragments our mental environment. Instead of focusing deeply on one task, the brain is constantly switching between streams of information. News alerts. Social media updates. Messages. Videos. Advertisements. The mind becomes a battlefield of competing stimuli. And when attention is constantly divided, the ability to concentrate weakens. Many people experience this as a growing sense of distraction. They find it harder to focus on reading. Harder to concentrate on long conversations. Harder to stay immersed in complex work. This is not simply a personal problem. It is a systemic consequence of an economy built around capturing attention. When attention becomes the product. In traditional economies, companies sell goods or services. But in the attention economy, the real product is human engagement. Platforms collect user attention and then sell access to that attention through advertisements and sponsored content. In this model, success is measured by engagement metrics. How long users stay on the platform. How many posts they interact with. How often they return. The more time people spend within these digital environments, the more valuable the platform becomes. And so every feature is designed to encourage longer sessions. Autoplay videos. Endless feeds. Recommended content. Push notifications. Each one is designed to pull users deeper into the system. The invisible competition. Most people do not realize how intense this competition has become. Technology companies invest billions of dollars researching user behavior. They test thousands of interface designs. They analyze millions of interactions. All to answer one question. How can we keep people engaged longer? Every color, sound, notification, and animation is carefully optimized. The goal is simple. Reduce friction. Increase engagement. Maximize attention. And because billions of people use these platforms every day, even small improvements in engagement can generate enormous profits. A system designed to hold you. Understanding the attention economy reveals something important. Digital addiction is not simply the result of weak self-control. It is the predictable outcome of systems designed to capture and hold human attention. These systems are engineered to stimulate curiosity, reward engagement, and minimize stopping points. They take advantage of psychological mechanisms that evolved long before the digital age. And once people understand this dynamic, they begin to see their digital habits differently. Instead of blaming themselves for distraction, they recognize the environment shaping their behavior. Awareness is the first step toward reclaiming control. But the story does not end with the attention economy. Because one of the most powerful arenas of this competition is social media. And social media platforms have perfected the art of turning human connection into digital engagement. Chapter 3 Summary. In this chapter, we explored the concept of the attention economy. We learned that digital platforms compete for one of the most valuable resources in the modern world, human attention. Most platforms appear free because their business model is based on advertising and user engagement. Algorithms analyze user behavior and deliver personalized content designed to keep people watching, clicking, and scrolling. While this system creates highly engaging digital experiences, it also fragments attention and encourages constant stimulation. Understanding the attention economy reveals that digital addiction is not simply a personal struggle. It is the result of a powerful system built to capture and monetize human focus. You have just completed Chapter 3, The Attention Economy. Next, we will explore one of the most powerful forces within the digital world. In Chapter 4, The Social Media Trap, we will examine how social platforms transform human connection into addictive feedback loops of likes, comments, and validation. Chapter 4, The Social Media Trap. Human beings are naturally social creatures. For thousands of years, survival depended on connection with others. Belonging to a group provided protection, cooperation, and shared knowledge. Because of this, the human brain evolved to place enormous importance on social feedback. Approval from others feels rewarding. Recognition feels satisfying. Rejection, on the other hand, can feel painful. Modern social media platforms have learned how to harness these deep psychological instincts. What once occurred naturally in small communities has now been transformed into a digital system of likes, comments, shares, and followers. And this system has become one of the most powerful drivers of digital addiction. The need for social validation. Imagine posting a photo, a thought, or a short message online. Within minutes, notifications begin appearing. Someone liked the post. Someone left a comment. Someone shared it. Each notification delivers a small burst of social validation. And the brain responds with dopamine. These tiny signals of approval trigger the brain's reward system in the same way other pleasurable experiences do. The more engagement a post receives, the stronger the feeling of validation becomes. Over time, this creates a subtle but powerful motivation. People begin posting not just to communicate, but to receive feedback. To collect likes. To gain attention. To feel acknowledged. And each piece of feedback reinforces the behavior. The feedback loop. Social media platforms are designed around what psychologists call a feedback loop. The process works like this. You share something online. You receive feedback from others. Your brain interprets that feedback as a reward. This reward encourages you to repeat the behavior. So you post again. And the cycle continues. But the feedback is not always predictable. Some posts receive many likes. Others receive very little. This unpredictability makes the system even more engaging. Because each time you post, you do not know what the result will be. Will people react? Will they ignore it? Will it spread widely? This uncertainty keeps people returning to check their notifications. Just as a gambler repeatedly checks a slot machine, users repeatedly check their feeds. The comparison effect. Another powerful element of social media is comparison. When people scroll through their feeds, they see images of other people's lives. Vacations. Achievements. Celebrations. Carefully curated moments of happiness. But what most people do not realize is that social media often displays highlight reels, not reality. People rarely share their struggles, frustrations, or ordinary moments. Instead, they present the best versions of their lives. When others view this content repeatedly, it can create the illusion that everyone else is living a more exciting, successful, or fulfilling life. This comparison effect can trigger feelings of inadequacy. People begin measuring their own lives against idealized digital images. And when reality does not match those images, dissatisfaction grows. Ironically, this dissatisfaction often pushes people to engage even more with social media, searching for validation and reassurance. The fear of missing out. Social media also amplifies something psychologists call FOMO, the fear of missing out. When people see friends attending events, traveling, or participating in activities, they may feel a sense of exclusion. Even if they were perfectly content before opening the app, seeing these posts can trigger a subtle anxiety. What if something important is happening without me? What if I am missing an opportunity? What if everyone else is experiencing something better? This fear encourages frequent checking. People return to social media again and again to make sure they remain connected and informed. And each time they check, the cycle of engagement continues. The never-ending feed. One of the most influential features of social media is the design of the feed itself. Instead of presenting a limited set of posts, modern feeds often use infinite scrolling. There is no final page. No clear stopping point. Content continues appearing as long as you keep scrolling. This design removes natural stopping cues. Without a clear endpoint, the brain struggles to decide when to stop. The result is prolonged sessions of passive consumption. People continue scrolling not because they intended to spend hours online, but because the system never signals that it is time to leave. Social media and identity. Social media also influences how people construct their identities. Profiles, posts, and online interactions become digital representations of who we are. People carefully choose which photos to share, which opinions to express, which parts of their lives to display. Over time, maintaining this digital identity can become emotionally significant. Feedback on posts may feel like feedback on the self. A large number of likes can feel validating. A lack of engagement can feel discouraging. This emotional connection makes it even harder to step away from the platform. Because leaving social media can feel like stepping away from a community. Or even stepping away from a part of one's identity. The hidden trade-off. Social media offers many benefits. It allows people to stay connected with friends and family. It enables communication across long distances. It creates opportunities for collaboration and shared experiences. But the same systems that enable connection can also encourage excessive engagement. When social feedback becomes tied to dopamine rewards, the line between communication and addiction begins to blur. The challenge is not eliminating social media entirely. The challenge is learning how to use it consciously and intentionally. Because when social platforms begin controlling our attention rather than supporting our relationships, the balance has shifted too far. And reclaiming that balance requires understanding the systems that drive engagement. But social media is only one piece of the digital puzzle. Another powerful force shaping online behavior lies hidden within the algorithms that decide what we see. Chapter 4 Summary. In this chapter, we explored how social media platforms transform human connection into digital feedback loops. Likes, comments, and shares provide small bursts of social validation that trigger dopamine responses in the brain. These rewards encourage repeated posting and frequent checking of notifications. We also examined the psychological effects of comparison and the fear of missing out, both of which can increase engagement with social platforms. Infinite scrolling and carefully designed feeds remove natural stopping points, encouraging prolonged use. While social media can strengthen connections, its design can also turn social interaction into an addictive cycle of validation and attention. Understanding these mechanisms is essential for building healthier relationships with digital platforms. You have just completed Chapter 4, The Social Media Trap. Next, we will explore the invisible systems that decide what content appears on your screen. In Chapter 5, Algorithmic Addiction, we will uncover how recommendation algorithms shape behavior and keep users engaged for longer than they ever intended. Chapter 5, Algorithmic Addiction. In the previous chapter, we explored how social media platforms use feedback loops of likes, comments, and shares to keep users engaged. But behind these systems lies something even more powerful. Something invisible. Something constantly learning from your behavior. This force is the algorithm. Most people interact with digital platforms without thinking about the systems controlling what appears on their screens. But nearly everything you see online is filtered, ranked, and selected by algorithms. These algorithms determine which videos appear first, which posts rise to the top of your feed, which articles are recommended next, and which notifications appear on your device. In other words, algorithms act as the gatekeepers of your attention. What is an algorithm? An algorithm is simply a set of instructions used to solve a problem or perform a task. In the digital world, algorithms analyze enormous amounts of data in order to predict what content will keep users engaged. Every action you take online provides data. When you click on a post, the algorithm learns. When you pause on a video, the algorithm notices. When you scroll quickly past something, the system records that behavior as well. Even the time of day you open an app and how long you stay on certain content contributes to your digital profile. Over time, these patterns allow algorithms to create a detailed understanding of your interests, preferences, and habits. And once the system understands your behavior, it begins shaping your digital experience. The personalization engine. At first glance, personalized recommendations appear helpful. You receive content that matches your interests. Videos related to topics you enjoy. Articles about subjects you follow. Music similar to songs you already like. But personalization also has another purpose. It increases engagement. When content aligns with your interests, you are more likely to continue watching, reading, or scrolling. And the longer you remain engaged, the more valuable your attention becomes to the platform. This is why recommendation systems are constantly refining their predictions. They learn from every interaction. Each click improves the system's ability to keep you interested. The rabbit hole effect. One of the most powerful outcomes of algorithmic recommendation systems is what many people call the rabbit hole effect. You open an app with a simple intention. Perhaps you plan to watch one video. Or read one article. But the platform immediately suggests another piece of content. Then another. And another. Each recommendation is slightly more aligned with your interests than the last. Before you realize it, an hour has passed. What began as a brief visit has turned into an extended digital session. This is not an accident. Algorithms are specifically designed to create content pathways that guide users deeper into the platform. The goal is to reduce the likelihood that users will leave. The optimization race. Technology companies continuously test and refine their algorithms. Thousands of small experiments run every day. Different layouts. Different recommendation patterns. Different notification strategies. Each experiment measures how users respond. Which version keeps people engaged longer? Which design increases interaction? Which change encourages users to return more frequently? These insights are then incorporated into the system. Over time, the platform becomes increasingly effective at capturing attention. And because these changes happen gradually, users rarely notice the system evolving around them. But the impact on behavior can be profound. Emotional amplification. Algorithms do not simply recommend content based on topic. They also prioritize content that generates strong reactions. Content that people watch longer. Content that people share. Content that people comment on. These signals often correlate with emotional intensity. Posts that spark excitement, controversy, curiosity, or outrage. Because emotionally engaging content keeps users interacting with the platform. As a result, algorithms may unintentionally amplify extreme or highly stimulating material. This can create digital environments filled with intense, attention-grabbing content. And such environments can make it even harder for users to disengage. The habit reinforcement loop. When algorithms repeatedly deliver content aligned with your interests, they reinforce certain behaviors. If you watch a particular type of video, the platform recommends more videos like it. If you engage with certain topics, the feed begins showing more of those topics. Over time, the digital environment becomes increasingly tailored to your existing preferences. This creates a feedback loop. Your behavior shapes the algorithm. The algorithm shapes your content. And the content influences your future behavior. This cycle can strengthen habits and make digital environments feel increasingly compelling. The platform begins to feel like a space designed specifically for you. And in many ways, it is. The cost of algorithmic control. While algorithms improve user experience in many ways, they also raise important questions about attention and autonomy. When recommendation systems determine what information appears on your screen, they influence how you spend your time. They guide what you watch, what you read, what you think about, and how long you remain within the platform. Most of the time, this influence is subtle. But over long periods, it can significantly shape digital habits. People may spend hours consuming content that was chosen not by their own intentions, but by algorithmic predictions. This does not mean algorithms are inherently harmful. They are powerful tools. But like all powerful tools, they must be used with awareness. Because when users remain unaware of how these systems operate, the systems quietly guide behavior without resistance. Regaining control. The first step toward breaking algorithmic influence is awareness. When you recognize that recommendations are carefully designed to keep you engaged, you can begin interacting with them more consciously. You can choose when to follow recommendations and when to stop. You can decide which platforms deserve your attention and which ones do not. Understanding algorithms does not mean abandoning technology. It simply means reclaiming your ability to choose how you interact with it. But even with awareness, digital environments contain one more powerful design feature that keeps people scrolling. And that feature is the endless stream of content. Chapter 5 Summary. In this chapter, we explored how algorithms shape the digital experiences we encounter every day. Algorithms analyze user behavior and deliver personalized recommendations designed to maximize engagement. These systems learn from every interaction and gradually refine their predictions, guiding users deeper into digital platforms. This process can create the rabbit hole effect, where brief interactions turn into extended periods of online activity. Algorithms also prioritize emotionally engaging content, which can amplify stimulation and make platforms even more difficult to leave. Understanding how these systems operate allows users to interact with digital environments more consciously and regain control over their attention. You have just completed Chapter 5, Algorithmic Addiction. Next, we will explore one of the most powerful design features in modern digital platforms. In Chapter 6, The Endless Scroll, we will examine how infinite content streams keep users engaged for far longer than they originally intended. Chapter 6, The Endless Scroll. Imagine opening your phone to check something quickly. Perhaps you want to read a message, watch a short video, or glance at a social media update. You tell yourself it will only take a moment. But minutes pass. Then 20 minutes. Sometimes an hour. And when you finally look up, you realize you have been scrolling through an endless stream of content without any clear intention. This experience has become incredibly common in the digital age. And it is not accidental. It is the result of one of the most influential design features ever introduced into modern technology. Infinite scrolling. The birth of infinite content. In the early days of the internet, websites were structured with clear boundaries. You would open a page, scroll through the content, reach the bottom, and then decide whether to move to another page. These natural stopping points gave users a moment to pause and reflect. Should I continue? Or should I stop? But digital platforms discovered that these pauses often led people to leave. If the user reached the end of a page, they might close the app. They might move on to something else. And from the perspective of a platform competing for attention, that was a lost opportunity. So designers introduced a simple but powerful change. Instead of ending the page, the system would automatically load more content. As soon as you approached the bottom, new posts would appear. There would be no final page. No clear ending. Just an endless stream of information. The psychology of no stopping point. The human brain responds strongly to clear signals. When a task is finished, the brain recognizes completion. When a page ends, the mind naturally pauses. But infinite scrolling removes that signal. There is no moment of completion. No natural break. Without a stopping point, the brain struggles to determine when it should stop consuming content. And so the scrolling continues. Each swipe reveals something new. A video. A photo. A headline. A post. Some items are interesting. Some are not. But the possibility that the next piece of content might be exciting keeps the mind engaged. This process closely resembles the psychological mechanisms behind gambling. Each swipe becomes a small gamble. Maybe the next post will be entertaining. Maybe it will be surprising. Maybe it will be something you want to share. This uncertainty keeps the brain curious. And curiosity keeps the thumb moving. The passive consumption cycle. Another important aspect of endless scrolling is the shift from active choice to passive consumption. When people actively choose what to watch or read, they engage with content intentionally. They search for a specific topic. They decide what interests them. But infinite feeds change this dynamic. Instead of selecting content deliberately, users simply react to whatever appears next. The system does the choosing. The user does the consuming. Over time, this can create a passive habit. The mind becomes accustomed to receiving continuous stimulation without effort. And because the content changes constantly, the brain rarely has time to grow bored. There is always something new just one swipe away. Time distortion. One of the most interesting effects of endless scrolling is the way it alters our perception of time. When people become absorbed in continuous digital content, they often lose track of how much time has passed. What felt like 10 minutes may actually be 30 or 40 minutes. Sometimes much longer. Psychologists refer to this phenomenon as time distortion. When the brain receives a rapid stream of stimuli, its sense of time can become blurred. This is similar to what happens when people become deeply absorbed in video games or streaming entertainment. The environment becomes immersive. And the outside world temporarily fades into the background. This effect makes endless scrolling particularly powerful. Because the user rarely feels the passage of time while it is happening. The cost of continuous stimulation. While endless content streams may seem harmless, they have deeper consequences for the brain. Continuous stimulation reduces opportunities for mental rest. The brain needs moments of quiet in order to process information, reflect on experiences, and restore cognitive energy. But when the mind is constantly absorbing new content, these restorative moments disappear. Instead of processing thoughts, the brain moves immediately to the next piece of information. Over time, this can contribute to mental fatigue. People may feel mentally overloaded even though they have not engaged in demanding tasks. The brain becomes full of fragmented impressions rather than meaningful reflection. And this fragmentation makes sustained focus more difficult. The illusion of control. One reason endless scrolling feels harmless is that users believe they are in control. After all, they are the ones moving their fingers across the screen. But in reality, the system has been carefully designed to encourage that behavior. The layout of the feed. The speed at which new content appears. The subtle animations that guide the eye downward. All of these elements are optimized to keep the scrolling motion going. The user feels like they are choosing to continue. But the environment constantly encourages that choice. Breaking the scroll habit. The first step toward reducing endless scrolling is awareness. When you recognize that the feed has no natural endpoint, you can begin setting your own boundaries. Instead of waiting for the platform to signal when it is time to stop, you create that signal yourself. You might decide to check an app for 5 minutes and then close it. You might set specific times during the day for digital interaction. Or you might place physical distance between yourself and your phone when focusing on important work. Small changes like these can interrupt the automatic scrolling habit. And once the habit loop is disrupted, it becomes easier to regain control of attention. But endless scrolling is not the only digital system built around reward loops. Another powerful source of digital stimulation lies in the world of gaming. And gaming platforms have perfected the art of rewarding engagement. Chapter 6 Summary. In this chapter, we explored how infinite scrolling transformed digital platforms into endless streams of content. By removing natural stopping points, infinite feeds encourage prolonged engagement and make it difficult for users to disengage. The brain responds to this continuous flow of information with curiosity and anticipation, which can lead to extended scrolling sessions. This design shifts users from active decision-making to passive consumption, while also distorting their perception of time. Over time, constant stimulation can contribute to mental fatigue and fragmented attention. Recognizing how infinite scrolling works is an important step toward reclaiming control over digital habits. You have just completed Chapter 6, The Endless Scroll. Next, we will explore another powerful digital environment built around reward systems. In Chapter 7, Gaming and Reward Loops, we will examine how video games use carefully designed progression systems to keep players engaged for hours at a time. Chapter 7, Gaming and Reward Loops. In the previous chapter, we explored how endless scrolling keeps people engaged with digital content for extended periods. But another digital environment has mastered the art of capturing attention long before social media feeds became popular. That environment is video gaming. Video games have evolved into one of the most sophisticated forms of digital engagement ever created. They are immersive, interactive, and carefully designed to keep players returning again and again. But what makes games so compelling is not simply entertainment. It is the reward system embedded within their design. The psychology of achievement. At the core of most video games lies a powerful psychological mechanism, the sense of achievement. When players complete a mission, solve a puzzle, defeat an opponent, or reach a new level, the game delivers immediate feedback. A sound effect, a visual animation, a score increase, a new reward. These signals provide a clear message to the brain. You succeeded. And success triggers the brain's reward system. Dopamine is released. Motivation increases. And the player feels encouraged to continue. This cycle creates a powerful loop. Play. Achieve. Receive reward. Repeat. Over time, this loop becomes highly engaging. Because each achievement provides a small burst of satisfaction. The leveling system. One of the most common reward structures in games is the leveling system. Players begin at a basic level and gradually progress through increasingly challenging stages. Each new level unlocks abilities, items, or access to new areas of the game. This system taps into a fundamental human desire for progress. People naturally enjoy seeing improvement. They like measurable growth. They enjoy moving forward toward goals. Games provide constant reminders of that progress. Experience points. Progress bars. Unlockable content. Achievements. These indicators create a clear sense of advancement. And that sense of advancement keeps players engaged. The power of immediate feedback. In the real world, rewards often require patience. Learning a skill may take months or years. Building a career takes time and effort. Improving physical fitness requires consistent practice. But in games, rewards are delivered almost instantly. Complete a task, and the game immediately provides recognition. This instant feedback keeps the brain highly stimulated. Each success is quickly acknowledged. Each effort produces a visible result. This rapid cycle of action and reward creates an environment where progress feels constant. And because the rewards arrive quickly, the brain becomes eager to continue. The challenge balance. Another reason games are so engaging is their careful balance between challenge and ability. If a task is too easy, it becomes boring. If it is too difficult, it becomes frustrating. Successful games constantly adjust the level of challenge to match the player's abilities. As players improve, the game becomes slightly more difficult. This creates a psychological state known as flow. Flow occurs when a person is fully immersed in an activity. Time seems to pass quickly. Focus becomes intense. And the outside world fades away. Video games are highly effective at creating this state. And once players enter flow, it becomes difficult to stop playing. Social gaming and competition. Modern games have added another powerful layer to engagement: social interaction. Many games now include multiplayer environments where players compete or collaborate with others. Leaderboards rank performance. Teams coordinate strategies. Players communicate through voice or text. These features introduce social elements similar to those found in social media. Recognition. Status. Competition. When players climb rankings or achieve victories against others, the sense of accomplishment becomes even stronger. And because these achievements are visible to other players, the motivation to continue can increase significantly. The endless quest. Many games also introduce long-term goals that extend far beyond a single session. Players may work toward unlocking rare items, completing collections, or reaching high levels of mastery. These goals provide reasons to return again and again. Even when a player stops playing for the day, the progress they have made encourages them to continue later. The brain remembers unfinished progress. It wants closure. And games take advantage of this tendency by creating systems where the next reward always feels just within reach. The fine line between engagement and addiction. Video games are not inherently harmful. They can provide enjoyment, creativity, problem-solving opportunities, and social interaction. But when reward systems become too powerful, they can create patterns of excessive engagement. Players may spend far more time in digital environments than they originally intended. Sleep may be sacrificed. Responsibilities may be delayed. And the line between entertainment and compulsion can begin to blur. The same psychological mechanisms that make games enjoyable can also make them difficult to step away from. Understanding these mechanisms helps people interact with gaming environments more consciously. It allows them to enjoy games without becoming controlled by them. But gaming reward systems are only one part of the broader digital landscape. Because the cumulative effect of constant stimulation from phones, social media, algorithms, and digital entertainment can lead to a much larger problem. A gradual decline in our ability to concentrate. Chapter 7 Summary. In this chapter, we explored how video games use reward systems to keep players engaged. Gaming environments provide frequent achievements, immediate feedback, and clear indicators of progress. These elements activate the brain's reward system and encourage repeated play. Leveling systems, balanced challenges, and social competition further increase engagement by creating a sense of progress and recognition. While games can offer enjoyable and meaningful experiences, their carefully designed reward loops can also encourage excessive play. Understanding these systems helps individuals maintain a healthy balance between entertainment and real-world responsibilities. You have just completed Chapter 7, Gaming and Reward Loops. Next, we will examine one of the most significant consequences of constant digital stimulation. In Chapter 8, The Attention Collapse, we will explore how excessive digital input can weaken the brain's ability to sustain focus and concentration. Chapter 8, The Attention Collapse. For most of human history, attention was a survival skill. Early humans needed the ability to concentrate on important tasks, tracking animals, building shelter, crafting tools, or navigating unfamiliar terrain. Focus meant survival. Distraction meant danger. The human brain evolved to handle complex problems through sustained concentration. But in the modern digital world, something profound has begun to change. Our environment is now filled with constant stimulation. Notifications, messages, videos, news updates, social media feeds, emails, games, streaming content. At any moment, a new piece of information is waiting to capture our attention. And while these technologies provide convenience and entertainment, they also place an enormous strain on the brain's ability to focus. Many psychologists describe this phenomenon as the attention collapse. The fragmentation of focus. Attention is like a mental spotlight. It allows the brain to concentrate on one task while filtering out distractions. But the more frequently attention shifts from one stimulus to another, the weaker that spotlight becomes. In the digital environment, attention rarely stays in one place for long. A person might begin reading an article. A notification appears. They open a message. Then they check social media. A video recommendation appears. Soon they are watching short clips. Then another notification arrives. Within minutes, the brain has jumped across multiple streams of information. Each shift may seem small, but together they create a fragmented pattern of attention. Instead of focusing deeply on one activity, the mind constantly switches between many. The myth of multitasking. Many people believe they are good at multitasking. They think they can manage several tasks at once without losing efficiency. But research in cognitive science tells a different story. The human brain does not truly multitask. Instead, it rapidly switches between tasks. Each time the brain switches focus, it must pause briefly to reorient itself. This process consumes mental energy. And the more frequently these switches occur, the greater the cognitive load becomes. In digital environments, these task switches happen constantly. Messages interrupt work. Notifications interrupt conversations. Videos interrupt reading. Over time, the brain becomes accustomed to this rapid switching pattern. and sustained concentration begins to feel unfamiliar. The shortening attention span. As digital stimulation increases, many people notice a gradual decline in their attention span. Activities that once felt engaging now feel difficult to sustain. Reading long books becomes challenging. Watching extended lectures requires effort. Completing complex tasks without interruption becomes harder. The brain becomes conditioned to expect rapid stimulation. Short videos. Quick headlines. Instant updates. These forms of content train the brain to consume information in brief bursts. While this format is convenient, it can weaken the ability to remain engaged with longer, more demanding activities. Mental fatigue. Another consequence of constant digital stimulation is mental fatigue. Even when digital activities feel relaxing, they still require cognitive processing. Each new piece of information must be interpreted by the brain. Images. Words. Sounds. Emotions. When this stream of input continues for hours without pause, the brain begins to feel overwhelmed. People may experience symptoms such as difficulty concentrating, reduced motivation, mental exhaustion, restlessness. Despite spending hours consuming content, the mind may feel strangely unsatisfied. This is because passive stimulation does not provide the same sense of accomplishment as meaningful activity. The loss of deep work. Deep work refers to periods of uninterrupted concentration on demanding tasks. It is during deep work that the brain produces its most creative ideas, solves complex problems, and learns new skills. But deep work requires time and focus. And both of these resources are increasingly scarce in the digital environment. When interruptions occur every few minutes, the brain rarely reaches the depth of concentration required for complex thinking. Instead, attention remains at the surface level. Quick responses. Brief reactions. Short bursts of activity. This pattern may feel productive, but it rarely leads to significant progress. Over time, the ability to perform deep work begins to decline. The brain can adapt. Despite these challenges, the brain is incredibly adaptable. Just as digital habits can weaken attention, intentional practices can strengthen it again. Focus is not a fixed trait. It is a skill that can be trained. By reducing unnecessary distractions and creating environments that support concentration, people can gradually rebuild their ability to sustain attention. But this process requires awareness and deliberate effort. It requires recognizing how digital habits influence the mind, and choosing to interact with technology in ways that support long-term mental clarity. The good news is that once people begin reclaiming their attention, the benefits can be profound. Improved productivity, greater creativity, deeper learning, stronger relationships. Because when attention is restored, the mind becomes capable of engaging fully with the world again. Chapter 8 Summary. In this chapter, we examined how constant digital stimulation can weaken the brain's ability to maintain focus. Frequent interruptions fragment attention and prevent sustained concentration. Multitasking is largely a myth, as the brain must switch rapidly between tasks rather than performing them simultaneously. Over time, this pattern can shorten attention spans and contribute to mental fatigue. The decline of deep work further limits creativity, learning, and productivity. However, the brain remains adaptable. With intentional changes in digital habits, individuals can gradually rebuild their ability to focus and engage deeply with meaningful tasks. You have just completed Chapter 8, The Attention Collapse. Next, we will begin the process of reclaiming control. In Chapter 9, Reclaiming Your Mind, we will explore practical strategies for breaking digital habits and rebuilding a healthier relationship with technology. Chapter 9, Reclaiming Your Mind. In the previous chapters, we explored how digital technology captures attention. We examined the role of smartphones, social media, algorithms, gaming, and endless scrolling in shaping our daily behavior. Each of these systems is carefully designed to keep us engaged. And when combined, they create an environment where distraction becomes the default state of the mind. But understanding the problem is only the first step. The real transformation begins when people decide to reclaim control. Reclaiming your mind does not mean rejecting technology entirely. Modern technology is deeply integrated into work, communication, and learning. Instead, reclaiming your mind means changing the way you interact with technology. It means shifting from unconscious consumption to intentional use. Awareness is the first step. Most digital habits operate automatically. A notification appears. Your hand reaches for the phone. You unlock the screen. You open an app. Minutes later, you realize you are no longer doing what you originally intended. These behaviors occur so frequently that they often feel invisible. The first step in reclaiming your mind is awareness. Start by observing how often you check your devices. Notice the situations that trigger the habit. Boredom, stress, waiting in line, avoiding difficult tasks. These moments create openings where digital distractions easily enter. Once you recognize these patterns, you begin to regain control. Because habits that are visible can be changed. Creating friction. Digital platforms are designed to remove friction. They make it easy to open apps, refresh feeds, and consume endless streams of content. But when something is too easy, it quickly becomes automatic. To reclaim your attention, you can introduce small amounts of friction into your digital habits. For example, move distracting apps off your home screen. Turn off non-essential notifications. Log out of social media accounts. Delete apps that you rarely use but frequently open out of habit. These small changes interrupt the automatic cycle. They create a moment of pause. And in that pause, you regain the opportunity to make a conscious decision. Protecting your attention. Attention is one of the most valuable cognitive resources you possess. It determines what you learn, what you create, what you accomplish. Yet in the digital environment, attention is constantly under pressure. To reclaim your mind, you must treat attention as something worth protecting. One effective method is to create boundaries around technology use. For example, set specific times for checking email or social media. Avoid using your phone during meals or conversations. Designate certain periods of the day as distraction-free work sessions. These boundaries help prevent technology from occupying every moment of your day. They restore space for deeper thinking and meaningful experiences. Rediscovering boredom. In the modern digital environment, boredom has almost disappeared. Whenever a quiet moment appears, many people immediately reach for their phones. But boredom once served an important psychological function. It allowed the mind to wander. It created space for reflection. It encouraged creativity. When the brain is not constantly stimulated, it begins to generate its own ideas. Some of the most creative insights occur during moments of stillness. Walking, showering, looking out a window, waiting quietly. By allowing boredom to return, you give the brain an opportunity to recover from constant stimulation. And this recovery strengthens your ability to think deeply. Rebuilding real engagement. Digital platforms provide convenient forms of entertainment and communication. But they often replace experiences that once required active participation. Reading a physical book. Having long conversations. Learning a musical instrument. Engaging in sports. Creating art. Exploring nature. These activities demand sustained attention. They challenge the brain in meaningful ways. And they produce a deeper sense of satisfaction. When people reduce passive digital consumption and increase real-world engagement, something remarkable happens. The mind begins to feel clearer. Focus becomes easier. Energy returns. Because the brain is once again working in the way it was designed to function. Small changes create big results. Reclaiming your mind does not require dramatic lifestyle changes. Instead, it begins with small adjustments. Checking your phone slightly less often. Spending more time on focused work. Allowing quiet moments without reaching for a screen. Each small change gradually reshapes your habits. And over time, those habits reshape your attention. The brain adapts to the environment it experiences most often. If that environment is filled with constant stimulation, distraction becomes normal. But if the environment supports focus and intentional use of technology, the brain will adapt in that direction as well. Chapter 9 Summary. In this chapter, we explored how individuals can begin reclaiming control over their attention. Digital habits often operate automatically, but awareness can reveal the patterns that drive them. Introducing small amounts of friction into technology use can interrupt compulsive behavior. Protecting attention through boundaries and scheduled technology use helps restore focus. Allowing boredom to return gives the brain time to recover and generate creative insights. Finally, replacing passive digital consumption with meaningful real-world activities strengthens cognitive engagement and mental clarity. Reclaiming the mind begins with small, intentional changes that gradually reshape attention and behavior. You have just completed Chapter 9, Reclaiming Your Mind. Next, we will explore the importance of building stronger habits for managing technology in everyday life. In Chapter 10, Digital Discipline, we will examine how structure, routines, and self-control can help you maintain a healthy relationship with the digital world. Chapter 10, Digital Discipline. By now, you understand how modern technology competes for your attention. You have seen how smartphones, social media platforms, and algorithm-driven content are designed to keep you engaged for as long as possible. You have also begun exploring the first steps toward reclaiming your mind. But awareness alone is not enough. To truly overcome digital addiction, you must develop something more powerful. You must develop digital discipline. Digital discipline is the ability to control how, when, and why you use technology. Instead of reacting automatically to every notification or temptation, you become intentional about your digital behavior. Technology becomes a tool you use deliberately, not a force that controls you. The difference between access and control. One of the biggest challenges of the digital age is that we carry unlimited access to entertainment, information, and communication in our pockets. Your phone contains news, videos, games, social media platforms, streaming services, online shopping, and countless other forms of stimulation. At any moment, a single tap can open an endless stream of content. Access, however, is not the same as control. Without discipline, unlimited access can easily turn into unlimited distraction. Digital discipline means recognizing that just because something is available does not mean it must be used. Designing a structured digital life. Discipline becomes easier when your environment supports it. One of the most effective ways to manage technology is by creating a structured digital routine. Instead of checking your phone constantly throughout the day, you define specific moments for digital interaction. For example, you may check messages in the morning, respond to emails during work hours, use social media during a limited window in the evening. Outside those windows, your attention remains focused on the task in front of you. This structure reduces the temptation to check devices repeatedly. It also helps train the brain to remain engaged with one activity at a time. The power of device-free zones. Another powerful strategy for digital discipline is creating device-free environments. Certain spaces in your life should be protected from digital interruption. For example, the dining table, the bedroom, study or work sessions, conversations with friends and family. By removing devices from these spaces, you create environments where your mind can fully engage with the present moment. Meals become more meaningful. Conversations become deeper. Work becomes more productive. And sleep becomes more restful. These simple boundaries strengthen your relationship with both technology and the people around you. Training the mind to resist temptation. Digital discipline is also a mental skill. At times, you will still feel the urge to check your phone. You may want to open an app, refresh a feed, watch one more video. These urges are normal. They are the result of dopamine-driven reward systems that we explored earlier. But discipline grows stronger each time you resist those impulses. When you choose to continue focusing on your work instead of checking your phone, you strengthen your mental control. Over time, resisting temptation becomes easier. The brain begins to expect longer periods of focus rather than constant stimulation. Replacing digital habits. Breaking a habit is difficult if nothing replaces it. For example, if someone tries to reduce social media use but does not introduce other activities, boredom will quickly lead them back to the same behavior. This is why digital discipline works best when paired with positive replacements. Instead of reaching for your phone during free moments, you might choose to read a book, take a walk, write ideas in a journal, practice a skill, have a conversation. These activities provide meaningful engagement and reduce the brain's dependence on digital stimulation. Over time, they become new habits that support mental clarity and personal growth. Discipline leads to freedom. At first, the word discipline may sound restrictive. Many people associate discipline with limitation or sacrifice. But in reality, discipline creates freedom. When you control your digital habits, you regain control of your time. You become more productive. You think more clearly. You experience fewer distractions. And you become capable of deeper focus and creativity. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by endless streams of information, you decide what deserves your attention. Technology becomes a tool that supports your goals rather than an obstacle that prevents them. This is the true purpose of digital discipline. Chapter 10 Summary. In this chapter, we explored the concept of digital discipline. Digital discipline means intentionally controlling how and when technology is used. Unlimited digital access can easily lead to constant distraction, but structured routines help create healthier habits. Device-free zones protect important areas of life such as meals, sleep, work, and relationships. Resisting digital temptations strengthens mental control and gradually retrains the brain for longer periods of focus. Replacing digital habits with meaningful activities further supports this transformation. Ultimately, digital discipline creates freedom by allowing individuals to reclaim their time, attention, and mental clarity. You have just completed Chapter 10, Digital Discipline. Next, we will move into one of the most practical sections of this audiobook. In Chapter 11, The Focus Recovery Plan, you will learn a step-by-step system for rebuilding attention, restoring concentration, and strengthening your ability to focus in the digital age. Chapter 11, The Focus Recovery Plan. Throughout this audiobook, we have explored the forces that shape digital addiction. We examined the smartphone era, the dopamine-driven reward systems, the attention economy, social media traps, algorithmic addiction, endless scrolling, gaming reward loops, and the collapse of human attention. But now we arrive at one of the most important questions. If digital technology has weakened our ability to focus, how do we rebuild it? The answer lies in something we can call the Focus Recovery Plan. This plan is not about eliminating technology entirely. Instead, it is about retraining the brain to regain its natural capacity for sustained attention. And like any form of training, it requires consistency. Focus is a mental muscle. And muscles grow stronger through repeated exercise. Step 1. Reduce high dopamine inputs. The first step in recovering your focus is reducing excessive dopamine stimulation. As we discussed earlier, many digital platforms are designed to deliver constant bursts of novelty and reward. Short videos, notifications, likes, messages, breaking news alerts. These stimuli repeatedly trigger dopamine responses in the brain. When the brain receives these bursts too frequently, it begins to expect them. This makes slower, more meaningful activities feel less stimulating. To restore balance, you must gradually reduce these high dopamine inputs. This does not require eliminating them completely, but it does require limiting them. For example, reduce the time spent on social media. Disable unnecessary notifications. Avoid short-form content binges. By lowering the intensity of digital stimulation, you allow the brain's reward system to stabilize. Step 2. Practice deep focus sessions. Once distractions are reduced, the next step is rebuilding your ability to concentrate. This begins with structured deep focus sessions. A deep focus session is a period of uninterrupted concentration on a single task. No phone. No notifications. No multitasking. Just one task and your full attention. At first, these sessions may feel difficult. If your brain is accustomed to frequent digital stimulation, sustained focus may feel uncomfortable. But this discomfort is part of the retraining process. Start with shorter sessions. Perhaps 20 minutes. Gradually extend them over time. 30 minutes. 45 minutes. 1 hour. Each successful session strengthens your mental endurance. Step 3. Reintroduce boredom. One of the most overlooked elements of mental recovery is boredom. Modern technology has almost eliminated boredom from daily life. Whenever a quiet moment appears, people instinctively reach for their phones. But boredom plays an important role in cognitive health. It gives the brain time to reset. It allows thoughts to wander and reorganize. It creates space for creativity. To support focus recovery, you must allow boredom to exist again. Leave your phone behind during short walks. Wait in silence instead of scrolling. Sit quietly and observe your surroundings. At first, these moments may feel uncomfortable. But over time, they help the brain rediscover its natural rhythm. Step 4. Build focus-friendly environments. Your environment plays a major role in shaping behavior. If your surroundings are filled with distractions, maintaining focus becomes extremely difficult. But if your environment supports concentration, discipline becomes easier. Consider designing a focus-friendly workspace. This may include a quiet area dedicated to work or study, a clean desk with minimal distractions, your phone is out of reach, notifications disabled during work periods. These small environmental adjustments remove many of the triggers that lead to digital distraction. When distractions disappear, focus becomes the default. Step 5. Strengthen cognitive habits. The final step in the focus recovery plan is consistency. Attention improves through repeated practice. Every time you choose focused work over digital distraction, you strengthen your cognitive discipline. Every time you resist the urge to check your phone, you reinforce your mental control. Over weeks and months, these small choices accumulate. Your brain begins to expect longer periods of concentration. Deep thinking becomes easier. Tasks that once felt overwhelming become manageable. And gradually, your attention span expands again. The long-term transformation. Recovering focus does not happen overnight. Digital habits may have developed over many years. But the brain remains capable of remarkable change. With patience and consistent effort, your mind can regain the clarity it once had. You may notice improved concentration, greater productivity, stronger memory, more creative thinking, a deeper sense of satisfaction with your work. Because when your attention is no longer fragmented, your mental energy becomes far more powerful. Focus is not just about productivity. It is about reclaiming your ability to fully engage with life. Chapter 11 Summary. In this chapter, we explored the focus recovery plan for rebuilding attention in the digital age. The first step is reducing high dopamine digital inputs that overstimulate the brain. The second step involves practicing structured deep focus sessions to strengthen concentration. Reintroducing boredom allows the brain to recover from constant stimulation. Designing focus-friendly environments removes many external distractions. Finally, consistent cognitive habits gradually rebuild the brain's natural capacity for sustained attention. Through these steps, individuals can regain control of their focus and restore mental clarity. You have just completed Chapter 11, the Focus Recovery Plan. Next, we will explore the final transformation. In Chapter 12, The New Relationship with Technology, we will discover how to build a healthier, more balanced connection with the digital world. Chapter 12, The New Relationship with Technology. Throughout this audiobook, we have explored the powerful forces shaping modern attention. We examined the rise of smartphones, the dopamine-driven reward systems inside digital platforms. The attention economy competes for every second of human focus. The traps created by social media, the influence of algorithms, the endless scroll, gaming reward loops, and the gradual collapse of sustained attention. But the goal of this journey has never been to reject technology. Technology itself is not the enemy. In fact, it is one of the most powerful tools humanity has ever created. The real challenge lies in how we use it. The final step in overcoming digital addiction is learning to build a new relationship with technology. One that supports your goals instead of controlling your behavior. Technology as a tool. When technology first emerged, its purpose was simple. It was designed to help people accomplish tasks more efficiently. Communication became faster. Information became easier to access. Work became more productive. But over time, many digital platforms evolved into systems designed primarily to capture attention. Instead of serving users, they began competing for engagement. The new relationship with technology begins with a simple shift in perspective. Technology should function as a tool, not as a constant source of entertainment. Tools are used intentionally. They are picked up when needed and set aside when the task is complete. When technology returns to its proper role as a tool, attention becomes easier to manage. Conscious technology use. Most digital habits are unconscious. People unlock their phones without thinking. Open apps automatically. Scroll through content without a clear purpose. The new relationship with technology requires conscious use. Before opening an app or device, ask a simple question. Why am I using this right now? If there is a clear purpose, continue. If there is no purpose, pause. This simple habit introduces awareness into digital behavior. And awareness is the foundation of control. Protecting your most valuable resource. The modern world often treats attention as something disposable. Advertisements compete for it. Apps fight to capture it. Algorithms analyze it. But in reality, attention is one of the most valuable resources you possess. Where your attention goes, your life follows. Your skills improve where you focus. Your relationships deepen where you give presence. Your creativity grows where your mind is fully engaged. Protecting attention means protecting the direction of your life. This is why building a healthy relationship with technology matters so deeply. Technology that supports growth. A balanced digital life does not mean avoiding technology completely. Instead, it means choosing digital tools that contribute to personal growth. Technology can help you learn new skills, access educational resources, communicate with people across the world, build businesses, create art and ideas, solve complex problems. When technology is used in these ways, it becomes empowering rather than addictive. The difference lies in intention. Entertainment without limits weakens attention. Purposeful use strengthens it. Living beyond the screen. Perhaps the most important element of a healthy digital life is remembering that the real world still exists beyond the screen. Conversations. Nature. Creativity. Physical activity. Face-to-face relationships. These experiences provide something digital environments cannot fully replicate. They create emotional depth. They strengthen memory. They build meaningful connections. When people reduce excessive screen time, they often rediscover something surprising. Life feels richer. Time feels slower. Experiences feel more vivid. Because attention is no longer divided between countless digital stimuli. Instead, it is fully present. The future of attention. The digital world will continue evolving. New technologies will appear. Artificial intelligence will create more sophisticated systems. Virtual environments will become more immersive. These developments will offer incredible opportunities. But they will also create new challenges for human attention. The individuals who thrive in this environment will not necessarily be those with the fastest devices or the most apps. They will be the ones who can control their attention. Focus will become one of the most valuable skills of the modern age. And those who protect it will possess a powerful advantage. Chapter 12 Summary. In this chapter, we explored the importance of building a new relationship with technology. Technology should function as a tool rather than a constant source of entertainment. Conscious digital use helps individuals become aware of their habits and make intentional choices. Protecting attention is essential because it shapes personal growth, creativity, and relationships. Technology can support learning and productivity when used with clear purpose. At the same time, real-world experiences beyond the screen remain essential for emotional depth and meaningful living. Ultimately, those who learn to control their attention will thrive in the increasingly digital future. You have now completed Chapter 12, The New Relationship with Technology. Conclusion. Digital addiction: how technology is rewiring your brain. Over the course of this audiobook, we have taken a deep journey into one of the most powerful forces shaping modern life. Digital technology. Smartphones, social media platforms, gaming systems, streaming services, and algorithm-driven content have transformed the way people communicate, learn, and spend their time. These tools have created incredible opportunities. But they have also introduced a new challenge that humanity has never faced before. A constant battle for attention. Throughout the chapters of this audiobook, we explored how this battle works. We began with the rise of the smartphone era and the way mobile devices placed an entire digital universe into our pockets. From there, we examined the dopamine-driven reward systems that keep users coming back again and again. We discovered how the attention economy operates, where companies compete not only for customers, but for minutes, seconds, and even moments of human focus. We looked at the social media trap, where validation, comparison, and endless updates encourage people to check their devices repeatedly throughout the day. We explored algorithmic addiction, where intelligent systems learn what captures your interest and deliver it endlessly. We examined the endless scroll, gaming reward loops, and the gradual collapse of deep attention. But the purpose of this audiobook has never been to create fear around technology. Technology itself is not inherently harmful. The real challenge lies in understanding how these systems influence human behavior. And more importantly, how individuals can regain control. As we moved deeper into this journey, we explored the steps necessary to reclaim the mind. We discussed awareness, digital discipline, the importance of boredom, the rebuilding of deep focus, and the development of intentional technology use. Each of these steps represents something powerful: the ability to choose how your attention is used. Because attention shapes everything. Where you focus determines what you learn, what you create, what you accomplish, and ultimately, the direction of your life. In a world filled with constant digital noise, the ability to control attention has become one of the most valuable skills a person can develop. Those who allow their attention to be controlled by external systems may find themselves constantly distracted, overwhelmed, and mentally exhausted. But those who learn to manage their attention can unlock something far more powerful: clarity, productivity, creativity, and deeper engagement with life. Reclaiming your mind does not require abandoning technology. It simply requires learning to use it consciously. Technology should serve your goals, your learning, your work, and your relationships. Not replace them. Not dominate them. And not control them. As the digital world continues to evolve, the challenge of managing attention will only become more important. New platforms will emerge. Algorithms will become more sophisticated. And digital environments will grow even more immersive. But the human mind remains capable of adaptation. With awareness, discipline, and intention, anyone can build a healthier relationship with technology. One where the mind is not overwhelmed by constant stimulation, but strengthened by purposeful focus. The goal is not perfection. No one can completely eliminate digital distractions. But progress begins with small choices. Choosing to put the phone down. Choosing to focus on meaningful work. Choosing to be present in conversations. Choosing moments of silence instead of constant stimulation. These small decisions accumulate over time. And gradually, they reshape the mind. The future will belong to those who can master their attention. Because in the digital age, attention is not just a skill. It is a superpower. And once you reclaim it, the possibilities for growth, learning, and achievement become limitless. Final words. Digital addiction: how technology is rewiring your brain. If you have listened this far, you have already done something powerful. You chose to learn about your own mind. In a world where most people are constantly distracted, taking the time to understand how technology affects your brain is an important step toward reclaiming control of your life. Throughout this audiobook, we explored how digital systems are designed to capture attention. We examined the psychology of dopamine, the power of algorithms, and the strategies used by platforms to keep users engaged. But more importantly, we explored something far more empowering: your ability to take control. Because despite all the technological forces competing for your attention, the human mind still possesses something incredibly powerful: choice. You can choose when to use technology. You can choose when to step away from it. You can choose how you spend your time, your focus, and your energy. Every time you choose deep focus over distraction, you strengthen your mind. Every time you put the phone down to engage with the real world, you reclaim a piece of your attention. And every time you choose meaningful work over endless scrolling, you move one step closer to mastering your focus. This journey does not end when this audiobook ends. In many ways, it is only the beginning. Because building a healthier relationship with technology is not a one-time decision. It is a daily practice. A continuous process of awareness, discipline, and growth. But the reward for that effort is extraordinary. Clarity of thought. Stronger concentration. Greater productivity. And a life that feels more intentional and meaningful. So if this audiobook helped you understand the digital world a little better, if it helped you recognize your own habits, or if it inspired you to take even one small step toward reclaiming your focus, then it has served its purpose. And before we finish, there is one small thing you can do that helps this message reach more people. If you found this audiobook valuable, please take a moment to support the channel. Leave a like on this video so more people can discover it. Share it with at least 7 people, friends, family members, or colleagues who might also benefit from understanding digital addiction and reclaiming their focus. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful audiobooks about the mind, productivity, discipline, and personal growth. Your support helps this channel continue creating content that helps people strengthen their minds in an increasingly distracted world. Thank you for listening. And remember, your attention is one of the most valuable resources you have. Protect it, train it, and use it wisely.